Good evening and welcome to I'm Chris Parnell.
Reporting from Moscow.
Tbilisi.
Times Square.
May your dreams be your only boundaries in life.
Welcome to Let's Talk Money. My name is Harvey Cook and this is my co-host Kelly Bolton. Thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk Money today. We are honored to have with us Mr. Terry Hollahan, editor of the Memphis Business Journal, and Mr. Michael Sheffield, who's the senior reporter with the Memphis Business Journal.
Both of these distinguished gentlemen's career are dedicated to communicating the economic and business development of Memphis to its readers, and we are thrilled to have them in person today to share with our audience. So, without further ado, I welcome Terry and Michael to Let's Talk Money. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Terry,
Great to be here.
would you start off and tell us really what the Memphis Business Journal does?
Well, Harvey, we're a newspaper. We cover Memphis business top to bottom. We've been independently owned until about the mid-1990s when we were bought by a larger corporation. But our job is to go out and report the news, the business news, talk to the people who know what's going on and report that.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how has the Business Journal changed over the years since you've been there?
Well, we were bought by a company called American City Business Journals in the mid-1990s. And they own 41 business journals around the country, a couple of specialty publications. Street and Smith Sports Business Journal is one. They are a wholly owned subsidiary of Condé Nast, so we're part of a bigger corporation. You know, when the corporation came in, things tightened up a little bit. Some of the being independently owned, you know, going under corporate control changed things, but we got access to a lot more resources. We communicate well with our other markets, and that helps us report business in a broader perspective. More recently, as I'm sure you're aware, the media industry is changing. People are consuming their news in mobile platforms, on desktops, rather than holding the newspaper. And that has forced a change in the way we deliver the news. So we are now, you can pull us up on your iPad app. We have mobile applications where a lot of people are reading us. I believe some of the latest statistics, 1 in 4 are reading us on a mobile device now. So we've come a long way technologically to deliver the news to where our audience is.
Michael, I think everyone in Memphis is interested in the business of Memphis, what's going on here. And from what I can tell, your newspaper has your finger on the pulse of that more than anybody else does. Can you tell us what's going on in terms of the business in Memphis? What's the most promising areas?
Well, one of the biggest and newest areas, well, not really biggest, but newest areas is biotech. That one is starting to really take hold. You've got a lot of the small business accelerators in that area that pretty much take startups and shepherd them through to a different funding phase and getting products to market. So the Memphis Bioworks Foundation has been working on that. And then you've got older companies like Medtronic, Smith & Nephew, Wright Medical that have been here for a while. And they're constantly growing. Wright Medical actually split off into 2 companies last year. So the biotech side is growing a lot. Then you also have on the healthcare side, St. Jude is always going to be St. Jude, and Baptist and Methodist are constantly expanding, constantly building new hospitals, growing, even though Baptist did have some layoffs this week, but that's another, we can talk about that a little bit later. And then you always have FedEx and AutoZone, which are the mainstays here.
Right. Michael, just a quick follow-up question. I know 6 or 8 or 10 years ago, I used to hear people talk about how there really wasn't much biotech in Memphis, and I remember people were kind of frustrated about it. Now you're saying that there is. What's caused that change?
People are investing in it, and you've got Pitt Hyde, founder of AutoZone, that really is one of the key personalities involved with the BioWorks Foundation. He was heavily involved in founding it, heavily involved in funding it, and since he's the founder of AutoZone, he pretty much does what it is he wants to do.
Sure.
And he wants to be involved in that. So that's where that support, that's where that growth has come from. But even if they did have that support from somebody like him, it wouldn't be surviving if they weren't actually doing things. And you're seeing a lot more companies come. You're seeing a lot more companies come out now.
Great.
Well, let me ask you a question. The de-hubbing of Delta Airlines, who wants to take that one? This is when the show has come to an end, right? You know, there's a lot of talk about it. As a consumer, I'm frustrated. I can't get a flight that I used to be relying on. And, you know, there's concern about industry, what's its impact to Memphis. I hear from people on the street, but you guys see it a lot more. What's happening?
Well, and I'll let Michael chime in. Of course, you've got 2 airports. You've got one of the busiest cargo airports in the world because of FedEx being there. But on the passenger side, you're right. The airline industry has changed so much. 3-4 years ago, all the airlines were going out of business, consolidating, not making any money. So they have really become a lot more efficient in keeping their planes full. For Memphis, it's bad news. It's been bad news because corporations need the ability to move their people around and get them back quickly. That's how they do business. International Paper, FedEx, AutoZone, some of the bigger companies, a lot of these biotech companies we've been talking about, they need to move their people around to do deals, and when you don't have as much access to flights, then it becomes a little bit of a hamper on business, especially trying to recruit new industry. We're a distribution hub, as you know, and that's a different animal. We want the high-paying jobs to come to Memphis. We want the administrative jobs, and it's something that they think about. It's one of the many things they think about when they're considering opening an operation here in Memphis or in moving their headquarters here, like ServiceMaster did.
You know, I was talking with someone yesterday at a lunch meeting, and they said they used to be able to fly from point A to point B, door to door in 2 hours. Now it's 9 hours because of layovers, and I can only imagine the impact to a corporation. Well, man hours down, flights are more expensive, you know, and people are spending all this extra time in the air where they're not productive.
You're right. It's a big problem. I don't know if you want to chime in, but yeah, it's you know, Memphis is tackling it though, as you've seen. You know, they are bringing in low-cost carriers to make up for some of these flights. Southwest is flying more. Frontier is flying more. They're constantly recruiting the other carriers to come in and fill some of this void.
And what you're seeing a lot of is that there was so much emphasis placed on Delta. Delta had a hub here. So when Delta pulls their hub out of here, suddenly it's a scramble to find somebody to replace Delta, and you're not going to replace that big an operation here with just one. So now they're trying to find several, and it's a bad time to try and lure other airlines to an airport that has been the hub of one airport for such a long time. So it is very frustrating to a lot of the companies that fly in and out of here. I've had conversations with a few people that have told me as much, that that it makes it hard for them to do business, and they don't appreciate it. They're trying to get more involved and get things done, but the bottom line is that you rarely get to snap your fingers and make something happen with as far as getting more airlines here. So it's
I'm
a
gonna
work
cut you
in
off for a
process.
second. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we can finish this up.
Right.
Thanks.
You can now watch your favorite Germantown community television shows from anywhere in the world. GHS-TV is streaming online, live 24/7. A viewing screen displays our channel just like you see on television. Simply visit our website at www.ghstv.org. So log on and enjoy hometown news from anywhere in the world, only at ghstv.org.
Every day is so wonderful, and suddenly it's hard to breathe.
Would it be okay if I sat here?
Is she serious? Whatever.
New girl.
Sing away. Yes, words can't bring me down.
Reaching out. Pass it on.
So don't you bring me
A message
down.
from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Money. If you're just tuning in, I'm Kelly Bolton, and this is my co-host, Harvey Cook. Today we've been talking with Terry Hollahan and Michael Sheffield with the Memphis Business Journal to learn more about our city's economic development and future prospects. As we took a break, we were talking about the airline. I think we could probably spend several segments talking about this. Okay. But before we go on to our other questions, did you have any additional information you wanted to comment? I mean, I guess the city, we all want to know, we're doing things about it, hopefully. So we're making some changes, but it is having an economic impact to some degree.
Yeah, it is, and I think what I was saying before is that it's a process. And the city is trying to work on it. The corporations are trying to get involved as much as they can, but it's not something that's going to be fixed in an hour or tomorrow or next week. I mean, it's going to be a process. And I think one of the messages that they're trying to put out is that if you actually fly out of the airport and the airlines see that that it's busy, then they'll add more flights. You can take that however you want to, but I guess you would have to have flights that go to cities that you actually want to go to. Right. So that would help a little bit.
Well, maybe I could present an idea. Maybe FedEx would start flying passengers. There we have it. Throw a little package and me on the plane. There we go.
Yeah. Terry, Michael was talking about some of the best businesses in Memphis now, biotech and what have you. What are some of the other promising areas of business in Memphis?
Well, we're seeing a lot of demand in the industrial sector. I've been really pleased. We've got, of course, some new manufacturers who are in our market now, Electrolux, Mitsubishi. It's an net in-sum game sometimes with manufacturing because, you'll get new jobs and new operations, and then Cummins or Cargill or somebody like that will make another move to be more efficient in another area, and they'll cut some jobs. But industrially, we've got a lot of companies that are looking at the Memphis area to set up operations here because we're so efficient at moving goods. We had a great cost of living here, which is very attractive. FedEx is here, so shipping can be handled, at the last minute. So that's always a strong area for us, but there's a lot of activity in that area. I had written down some notes. There's a couple of other areas that are doing well now. Michael mentioned biotech, and I think we're seeing a lot more innovation with technology. There are a lot of companies that are, because of our medical base here, there are a lot of companies that are supplying hospitals and clinics with software and things that are making them more efficient, and now they're growing, excuse me, their businesses outside of our market. So there's a lot in the software and technology realm that's doing well too.
Interesting.
On the healthcare side, it's because of healthcare reform and changes and pressure on hospitals to cut costs, be more efficient, actually keep patients from coming back after they've been in the hospital. There's an opportunity for a few companies to take advantage of that and provide products that help hospitals with things like sterilization or efficiency in the operating room. So, and there are some local companies that are doing that have a lot of potential. So it's the next few years for the biotech and the healthcare industry are going to be pretty interesting from a lot of different perspectives.
Well, if you guys were giving Memphis some advice on the things that we need to work on, in addition to the problem we have with the flights in and out of Memphis, would there be any other things that you think are our weak spots where we could focus our energies as a community to try to bring industry in?
Well, and I think there is one, and there's a big move on it, is workforce development, having a skilled workforce ready to get in there. These new manufacturers and these distribution operations are getting a lot more sophisticated. The equipment is a lot more advanced, and we need a workforce that can go in there and help the company operate efficiently. We're in a market where, as you well know, Tennessee and Memphis in particular, there's not a huge percentage of our population that are college graduates. So we're always going to have a workforce that is not going to be college bound, a percentage. And I think the community colleges in particular are doing a great job of working with companies to get what they need and train, the people in order to go in and be immediately efficient and working for those companies.
I was just going to say, we actually had one of our guests previously from a local community college who has worked with some leaders in the community to find out, company A, this is what you need, okay, we'll provide the skills, and they train the people, we'll find the people with the skills rather, and they train the students, and then they deliver them the workforce, which is so smart.
It is.
Well, I think part of it is also that when you're, one of the issues that the city faces is, to piggyback on what Terry was saying, the education issue. I mean, the governor's taken steps to increase the number of college graduates in the state. I think he wants it to be 55% by 2025, I think that's correct. And it's between 20 and 35% right now. So there's a long ways to go. And because of that, when these companies come here, they aren't finding the workforce. So the flip side of that workforce training sector is to, yes, you want to train people that can fill the jobs now, but the flip side of it is that you need to educate them on the front end. They need to be educated. They need to be educated through high school and towards college for skills that they can actually use. That's one of the things that they're working through right now. But that's also the primary need, in my opinion, the primary need for the city to improve education.
Well, I think that's wonderful. We're going to take another short break, and when we return, we'll continue our conversation. So please stick around.
You've watched it over the span of 3 decades. We've dedicated ourselves to making it a fantastic community show, and the Alliance for Community Media has named GHS-TV's Crosstalk the best informational program in the country. From coverage of important area issues and events to conversations with high-profile local, national, and international personalities, Crosstalk keeps you informed and entertained. Don't miss Crosstalk, produced entirely by the students of Germantown High School. The news show airs each week only on Germantown Community Television, cable channel 17.
Wow. College already?
Yeah. We gotta go.
I love you.
I love you too, Daddy. And thanks for everything.
Gratitude. Pass it on. A message from the Foundation for a Better Life.
Thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Money. Today we're honored to have Terry Hollahan, who is the editor of the Memphis Business Journal, and Michael Sheffield, the senior reporter with the Memphis Business Journal. With just a little time left, I want to jump back in and finish this conversation. Michael, can you talk a little bit about tourism in Memphis? I know that's a big part of our economy. And while you're talking about tourism, could you also talk a little bit about the convention center? Is it what we need? Do we need more? I'm going to turn that over to you.
Well, depends on who you ask on the convention center question. The easy answer would be yes, we need more convention space.
Right.
The hard question that follows that easy answer is how you're going to pay for it. That's what they're trying to figure out now. Just because the last time the convention center was expanded, it was a fiasco that we could do an entire show on. So we're going to stay away from that one.
Right.
But they're faced with competition from Nashville, they're faced with competition from St. Louis, Louisville, and other comparable markets. So it's something has to be done with it. They're just trying to figure out how to do it and how to pay for it. And you know, it seems like everything in this city, you say there's no easy answer to it, and this is another one of those where there's no easy answer to it.
And can you talk a little bit about tourism and what's going on there, and how do we stand in that area?
Well, we're attracting conventions, and I think one of the things that the CVB is aware of is that Memphis these days is having a hard time getting large, talking about 2,000, 3,000 person conventions. And because of that, they're going after more as opposed to trying to get the big one, because you don't have enough hotel rooms for a lot of them. So if you get more small to medium sized ones, it helps. I won't say it makes up for it, because I'm sure if somebody came in here tomorrow wanting to put a large convention here, they would do it with no hesitation. If they could figure out how to make the hotel rooms work, they would do it.
And what is it about Memphis that we sell to bring these conventions in?
You wanted to bring up Elvis, right?
He was dying to talk about Elvis. I know.
I didn't know you were going to say that.
Elvis is one of the Elvis is one of the things that attracts people here. That's one of the biggest selling points here. Also the entire history of rock and roll, soul music, blues music. Those are huge selling points for the tourism industry, because it's about what else is there to do once I get there for this convention. So if you have those amenities, and you sell that to people, then it gets them interested. So all of that comes together, and they use it to attract attract conventions. They use it to attract tourists.
And we have I know you guys know this, but we have a lot of museums that are part of, you could spend, a couple of days going to the museums we have. Of course, the National Civil Rights Museum is a crown for Memphis. And, you have the Fire Museum, you have the Metal Museum. If you've never spent time there, it's very interesting. You can get hands-on smelting and stuff like that you can do there. We've got a lot of great museums, and that's part of the package of tourism.
I know Memphis really has gotten involved in almost the development business, Beale Street projects, that sort of thing. Do you think we're too involved, or should we get more involved?
Too involved.
Too involved? We got one vote. What about you?
Right, yeah. I think that the city needs to take a leadership role in redeveloping certain areas of Memphis when it makes sense. Then I think they need to back away. I think they need to let the private developers come in. Sometimes the city does a little too much. So it's a tough situation to be in. But I don't think the city is in the business of development.
It all comes down to planning. And one of the issues that the city has had for a long time, and it might make a few people mad if they see this, but they never look further down the line. It's always next month or tomorrow or a week from now, as opposed to 5-10 years down the line. And a lot of the development issues that the city has with the fairgrounds, with the pyramid, with you name it, is long-term planning. So it turns into oh no, what are we going to do with this? We've got to figure this out. So let's just do this. I mean, it's the first thing. It makes sense. Let's do that. And they would argue with you that that's not the case, but it is. So that's one of the problems that you have with development. And the city gets involved because they want to make it attractive to somebody, as opposed to, like Terry was saying, have developers put what makes sense there. And you have that when everybody knows when you're rushing, you don't make the best decisions versus when you're planning. So, and the city's no different.
I hope you won't mind if we shift gears just a little bit. We have a lot of students that listen to this show and who actually work on the show. Could you talk a little bit about what's involved in being a reporter for a newspaper? And if a high school student might be interested in that, how would they start preparing for that? I'm talking to you, Michael, because you're the senior reporter.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah. Well, you might want to talk them out of it because you don't really make a lot of money. You have to be willing to talk to people. You have to go to people where they are, because that's how you find out information. You're talking to people that know what you want to know. So, but as far as taking steps back, you've got to be, you have to be able to communicate clearly, which means speaking, public speaking, writing, and be able to listen. It's a lot of soft skills that you can learn, but you also just have to know how to pay attention.
We may have some people in this room right here that will be taking your place one day.
Yeah, that's fine.
We hope. Once again, we want to thank our guests, Michael Sheffield and Terry Hollahan with the Memphis Business Journal, for joining us today. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. We're also constantly streaming live at GHS-TV.org. We hope you will join us again next month on Let's Talk Money.